2022 meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit Board of Directors. This meeting is being held virtually, and all speakers, the board, and staff, would you please announce your name when you begin to speak? This meeting is being live streamed, and the slide on the screen shows the information on how to join the webinar to Zoom. There we go. You can also call into the meeting at 253-215-8782, and the webinar access code is 850-4777-2864. If you're participating by phone, please push *9 to indicate a desire to comment on an item. And if you're joining us online through Zoom, please push the raise hand button. Be sure to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak and voluntarily state your name for the record. And now, Tabitha, if you'd call the roll.
All right, Director Budge is absent. Director Harris is absent. Director Howell is absent. Director Hume.
I am here.
Howell is here too.
Oh, good. Okay, and then Director Jennings is absent. Director Kennedy.
Here.
Director Natoli. Absent. Director Chenier.
Here.
Director Cerna.
Here.
Director Valenzuela. Here. And Chair Miller.
I'm here.
And with that, we have a quorum at 7 votes. And this meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. Today's meeting will air on Thursday, August 11th at 9 a.m. and Friday, August 12th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14 and webcast at metro14live.saccounty.net and is closed captioned. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14.
Thank you. And with that, would everyone unmute your mics and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're getting a little better at that. And with that, would you please call the first item, Tabitha?
The first item is the consent calendar, items 2.1 to 2.6. And please note on item 2.2, I edited this item and removed some unnecessary text.
Thank you. Are there any items that directors have questions on or would like pulled? And any public comment?
Otherwise, I'll move consent.
All right, so noted.
Second.
Second by Budge. Any public comment there, Tabitha?
Yes, we have a couple hands up. There's Jeffrey Tartagia and Glenn Mandelkorn.
Okay, I just asked the speakers to identify which consent item they're commenting on.
This is Jeffrey. I'm commenting on the item dealing with the Townsend as a lobbying effort. And I'm not quite clear on the consent which item that is, but I know it's before 7.
2.6.
Okay. Because I can't see what your documentation is, I am just wanting to see that the public is aware that the Thompson Agency has been involved in previous, shall we say, proposition legislation related to transit, and also that they are involved with the citizens. And I raise that concern and wonder if it's in the documentation for all board members to be aware that Townsend in the past has been not just transit oriented, but involved with the propositions and is involved with this current citizens initiative. And that's the source of my comment right now, and I'll pass it on. And there will be other things to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
think that Deborah can answer that question. I don't think that's the same Townsend group. Deborah can share.
Yes, absolutely. It is not the same Townsend. This is a different Townsend, unrelated to the person who lives in Sacramento and is part of the citizens-led initiative.
Thank you for that clarification. And we have another speaker, Tabitha.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I'm sorry, that was Director Natoli, and he is having trouble logging in. So we also have Glenn Mandelkern.
Glenn, what item number?
Okay. Am I enabled to hear? Can you hear me?
Yeah, what consent item are you commenting on?
I actually had comments on two separate items on 2.3 and 2.4. Am I allotted only 3 minutes for both together, or 3 minutes each?
Oh, whichever.
Okay.
Please just be succinct.
Okay. I will make 2.3 short as 2.4 as well. Basically, for 2.3, since the concept of leadership was raised repeatedly, I wanted to make a suggestion for an industry trade journal article that I found very helpful with regards to this, so that other members of SecRT leadership can look into this. This actually is about changes in attitude regarding leadership development and recruiting. To make this succinct, I was thinking that you guys, the leadership, could read this. You could also exchange opinions with Doug Carter, who's mentioned here. The article of interest, you can find it by Googling the 3 words, Metro Magazine Recruitment. Okay, this article was dated June 27th of this year. The title of the article is The Brave New World of Recruiting. And Metro Magazine happens to be a trade industry publication. So I highly recommend that article. Next, let's see. For 2.4, I will basically say, because I saw that it covered the Connect card, this particular weekend, I experienced a number of issues with Connect card on Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, I specifically wanted to use Connect card. Sometimes we decide as riders whether it's better to use Connect card or Zip Pass. On Saturday, I had various errands to run where I was going between different counties, between Placer County and Sacramento County, going through Every time I tried loading more cash value, I couldn't. So I ended up making separate payments instead of being able to use the daily pass abilities. When I saw I was still having problems on Sunday, I decided to call customer service, and they told me that there were some issues with Connect card regarding payment options. I don't know. I tried it this morning. It seems it's been fixed. My reason for bringing this up for 2.4 specifically is because I saw that there's some talk there about making some technical upgrades, that firewalls are obsolete or out of date. And so I would like to recommend that once you figure out why Connect Card was out this weekend, to add to your testing scenarios or your upgrade plans as necessary to visit, make sure that whatever caused this one is eliminated or doesn't happen anymore. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your comments, Glenn. And with that, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Would you please call the roll, Tabitha?
Yes. Director Budge?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Aye.
Director Howell? Director Howell? You're muted. Okay, we'll come back to Director Howell. Director Hume?
Aye.
And Director Jennings is absent. Director Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli,
Aye.
Director Chenier,
Aye.
Director Cerna, Director Cerna,
Go Phil.
was that an aye?
Aye.
Howell's an aye.
Howell's an aye. Director Valenzuela? Yes. And Chair Miller?
Yes.
You got Cerna as an I too, right?
I'm sorry?
You got Cerna as an I?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The consent calendar passes with 10 votes.
Very good. Next item, please.
The next item is number 6, public addresses the board on matters not on the agenda.
All right, I'll let you call the speakers. If there are any.
Jeffrey Tartagia has his hand up.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm going to take my 3-minute time to offer the last 48 hours. And that was on Sunday, there was a peak festival at Folsom. It had way too many people and you had way too many car problems. This is a return. So there were issues. I'm hoping that Deborah next year, since this was gone in the pandemic, but will be more effort put out for public transportation. And for Steve, I hope you can encourage that maybe we get Route 1 to extend over to Folsom so that there is a bus method for getting people moved, not just light rail. And I hope that the construction will be done next year so that it will not be 30 minutes, but Folsom on the weekend will have 15-minute service. That was, should we say, Sunday. The other problem, though, was Sac Valley and 65th Street. It seemed the Connect cards would not function. They just kept giving me that negative buzz. So I only got a charge from Folsom going back, but also once again saw the graffiti and the, should we say, damage to our Connect card terminals. I am hoping that our terminals for the low floor stations will be encased in the light rail vehicles where you can have cameras on them so that you know indeed what's going on, and it will just be a tapless system. That was Sunday. Monday today, I was on the 2204. If the board doesn't know what 2204 means, it is the brand new buses that have a different type of restraint system and have a more plasticized, should we say, seating. I don't know what and it's a sideways seating issue. I was also on 1504 and a 1528. Both of those buses are within the first 31 or 32 buses that only have a 6-inch disability handrail. So it's behind you. This is unfortunate with the others, to the other 90 plus buses that have a full 18-inch rail along the side to hang on to in the event of things occurring. I bring that up to your attention and hope that that safety issue will get fixed, because when I was thrown out of my wheelchair, I had nothing to grab onto and just went plunging into the yellow pipe, which consequently busted my nose. Again, things are happening. The last comment I'm going to make is that in front of Sutter right now, there is construction. You need to hopefully be able to post things because it had problems for riders trying to get on and off at Sutter Hospital. That's it. My time's up.
Thank you. Do we have another speaker?
There are no more hands up.
Trying to get it. Can you hear me? Hello? This is Glenn.
Glenn, do you have your hand up?
I'm trying to. I don't know why I don't have an icon for that, but I unmuted myself. If you could give me 3 minutes, I'd appreciate it.
Chair Miller?
Go ahead.
Okay, so my comment is about the Watts I-80 station, specifically the southbound travel side. I'm concerned about two aspects of it. I'm concerned about the safety issue, and also its general appearance. I was there at Watt I-80 2 times last week. The first time I was racing to catch the one, so I didn't have a chance to observe as much as I could have. But I just noticed something was wrong in the overall ambiance or atmosphere. And then I went back into that area on Tuesday, and I was trying to transfer from 93 to 1, and I didn't make the transfer, so I had a 15-minute window to observe things. Okay, like I said, there are two things. The safety aspect was that I noticed that the elevator door on that southbound Watts side isn't fully opening and closing. The different components of it don't all operate together. When I was there, the outer part of the door was still inside the frame to the right, and you would see exposed. I looked up the diagrams to see what these components are called. The cable and the clutch were exposed, and I'm worried about that from a safety aspect. I don't want anybody to get injured, and also the elevator needs to be usable so for whatever reason, that's intermittent. The other thing is I'm concerned about the appearance of the station in general, because the more I go there, the more I see that there's more graffiti, and I don't want to offend anybody. However, it's starting to look either abandoned or neglected. Now, I happen to also observe about a week ago that SAC-RT is now looking for a new vice president of light rail operations. I don't know to what extent they have responsibility over such a station like that. However, I would wonder if, as part of the recruiting process, you would take such candidates to observe that, and then maybe ask them, well, this is a state that this is in. What do you think you could do to help us improve this short term and long term? Watt I-80 in particular, I think, is a very important station because of all the bus connections there, and it's one of your endpoints. So it's very, very visible. So I really think it needs attention, especially if you can get a VP who will make it a top priority. Thank you.
You're welcome, Glenn. Thank you for your comments. Any other speakers, Tabitha?
No other speakers, but if I could just make a quick comment to Glenn, it looks like you're using an older version of Zoom. So if you could download the new version, then you could raise your hand. I think that was the issue there.
Okay, good. Next item, please.
Next item is item 7.1, the Downtown Riverfront Streetcar Project Update and Resolution 2022-08-090, delegating authority to the General Manager, CEO, to enter into a funding agreement with the City of West Sacramento for the revised Downtown Riverfront Streetcar Project. And Laura Ham is here to present this item.
Welcome, Laura.
Good evening, Chair Miller, directors, and members of the public. As Tabitha mentioned, I'm Laura Ham, VP of Planning and Engineering for SAC-RT. Thank you for the opportunity to give you this update tonight on the Downtown Riverfront Streetcar and West Sacramento Light Rail System connection. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So to briefly recap background on the streetcar project, it began in 2014. It was ultimately put on hold and then downscoped due to construction bids coming in much higher than expected for the original project. The original project did not complete the FTA project development process for the Capital Investment Grant Small Starts program, and the project is currently in what FTA calls the under review category. But we have to date maintained a $50 million allocation designated for the project by keeping FTA updated on project rescoping. The alignment shown on this slide was the alignment presented to you in May of 2021. It was developed by a technical working group formed by the mayors of the two cities and Congresswoman Matsui. The alignment included track from Sacramento Valley Station, going south on 3rd Street to Capitol Mall, across the Tower Bridge and entering Sutter Health Park streetcar platform on a single track. When we began progressing design for that alignment, a number of issues surfaced. The design conflicted with the future plans at the Sac Valley Station Transit Plaza and the proposed rework of the I-5 on-ramp at I Street. And I'm sure you remember some of that discussion back at our May 2021 meeting. In addition, the city of West Sacramento expressed concern to SAC-RT about the confinement of the streetcar alignment ending at the Sacramento Valley Station, as they envisioned a system that could be a future extension of the existing light rail system. Next slide. So this map on this slide shows a currently proposed new alternate alignment, which was reviewed at a meeting convened by Congresswoman Matsui on March 23rd of this year, and included representatives from the SAC-RT board, SACOG, and both cities. The existing light rail track is illustrated in yellow, and the proposed revised track alignment and route is in blue, which I'll also describe to you. So the single car line would travel between Sutter Health Park in West Sacramento and the Sacramento Valley Station by going down N Street to connections at 7th and 8th. There would be a new track installed from Sutter Health Park across the Tower Bridge, along Capitol Mall, and then south on 3rd Street to N Street. New double track would be installed on N Street from 3rd Street and would use the existing track and light rail system connections on 7th and 8th Streets. There would be new stations at Sutter Health Park, Capitol Mall, and N Street. The N Street station location has not yet been determined. We'll evaluate a possible stop location during design should it move forward. The line would also turn back at Sac Valley Station and return to West Sacramento. Just to clarify further, existing light rail stops are shown in a magenta font on the map here, and the new stops are indicated in black font. Next slide. So we wanted to illustrate a few of the benefits of the redesigned alignment, as well as some potential concerns. Some favorable elements of this alignment is it provides connectivity to the entire SAC-RT network and regional services. It will not impact the current City of Sacramento, Sacramento Valley Station plan, and will complement future light rail expansion in the River District. There would be direct access from West Sacramento to state buildings in downtown Sacramento, the Crocker Art Museum, and the New Sacramento Commons. It provides for expansion of the light rail system into West Sacramento and beyond, as West Sacramento has envisioned. And it potentially achieves higher ridership, giving greater benefit to greenhouse gas reduction and vehicle miles traveled reduction, potentially giving us a higher project rating with the FTA. Importantly, discussions with the FTA about this alignment have indicated that the current $50 million allocation for the project would not be put at risk with this change to the project. Some concerns to consider related to this alignment is that there would be additional design, environmental, and utility relocation costs due to the new alignment down N, and it would take about 18 months to conduct that additional work. However, construction costs are anticipated to be comparable or less than the original proposed alignment. This alignment may require additional utility relocations that have not yet been evaluated. Next slide. So we've developed an estimated project schedule, and if in the next few months we move forward on completion of the design, environmental updates, and all the other elements required for the Small Starts Grant Agreement application, the revised project is anticipated to enter construction in early 2027 with completion in 2029. Next slide. So the estimated project budget was derived from using the average cost per length of track from the 2019 streetcar bid data, and we escalated those costs to the year of construction dollars, which would be 2027 was when we anticipate to go out to bid. The rescoped project estimate of $126 million includes all costs, design, administration, construction of the new alignment. The spent to date of $22.5 million includes all costs of the project to date, including all the work that was completed for the original 2018 alignment. The cost of 2 new vehicles at $11.5 million is for 2 new Siemens S700 vehicles, the same vehicles that we're using on our light rail system, our new vehicles, low floor. And we would add that to our current Siemens procurement contract. Next slide. So kind of wrapping things up, we would like to obtain the board's input on the revised project tonight. We're also asking for authority to negotiate and enter into an agreement with the City of West Sacramento to fund completion of the Small Starts Grant Agreement and move towards completing the work required to do so. West Sacramento has asked that before we finalize the agreement, that first the City of Sacramento City Council would take action to support the new project alignment on N Street. And second, the City of Sacramento will need to determine the best path forward for allocating additional project development funds to the project. We're hopeful that both of these things will occur in the next month. We're in discussion with staff at both cities on the next steps. Thank you to our leadership at the City of Sacramento for assisting in moving forward a potential City of Sacramento Council discussion. And West Sacramento is working with us on that additional funding allocation and new agreement that would need to take place. So should all that occur, we would return to you. I'm sorry, Henry, did you want to say something?
I just want to be very clear. The funding will solely come from the City of West Sac. City of Sac will not be responsible for any further fundings in the future. And that was the agreement March meeting this year with all parties at the same table. Just wanted to clarify that. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Henry. Yes, that's correct. We do have a current reimbursement agreement with both cities, and the City of Sacramento funding, I believe there's $149,000 remaining. So once that's expended, there would be no additional funding from the City of Sacramento. So should all that occur, we would return to you with consultant work order amendments, and we would also formally update the FTA. That would include a transition of project sponsorship from SACOG to SAC-RT with that formal project update that they would be requesting with the new alignment. So that concludes the presentation. I did want to mention I also have Craig Norman, our Director of Engineering and Construction, on the line with me. Should you have any technical questions, we're available to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And Director Valenzuela, I believe, has some questions.
Just a comment, Chair. Thank you very much. And sorry, my voice seems to be going away during this meeting as it's happening. So thank you, Henry, and staff for this presentation. I appreciated the conversation that was convened with the Congresswoman and the representatives from West Sacramento. I agree that this alignment makes a lot of sense. I will always be honest that I had reservation about this project from the beginning, but we are already, no pun intended, too far down the track to turn this around. There's been money committed, there's been work done, and frankly, I think this alignment makes a lot more sense for connecting people to the rest of the region. So I'm supportive of making this change with the agreement as was outlined, and would be happy to move the item, Chair, when it's time.
All righty. Any questions for Laura from directors?
Yeah.
Director Budge?
Yeah. Laura, will you share your PowerPoint with the directors, please?
Yes, of course.
I appreciate that. It really clearly illustrates the new alignment, and frankly, knowing how long West Sacramento has wanted to connect to light rail and provided a corridor on West Capitol Avenue. I agree completely that this one is much more logical in terms of doing that. Can we confirm my understanding or the impression I'm getting that when you talk about on page 3 or 4, when you talk about completing additional environmental design and project analysis required for the Small Starts Grant Agreement application. You're really talking more about preserving the existing amount of money or about going after an additional Small Starts grant?
So definitely a goal is preserving the existing $50 million allocation. There is potential that we could pursue additional federal funds, at least up to a 50% match on the overall project. We discussed that in a little bit of detail at that March 23rd meeting. To when we update all of our environmental and design documents, should we need additional funding, there's potential that we could pursue up to maybe another 30 million out of the CIG program.
Okay. And when did you say you expect this to go, or would prefer to have this go to the Sacramento City Council?
We've spoken with city staff and they're targeting probably a September council meeting for discussion. We don't have a firm date yet, but that's the last we heard.
Okay, is it appropriate for us to vote on this prior to their taking action?
So this would delegate authority to negotiate with West Sac. And it is West Sacramento's request that those two things occur, that the city of Sacramento takes that action to support. There's no funding attached to it, just support of the new alignment. And West Sacramento is determining the source of funding as well to move forward. So we understand that those things would need to occur. It would simply delegate authority for us to negotiate. And West Sacramento is aware that we are moving forward with this delegation tonight in order to move things as quickly as we reasonably can.
Sure. Okay. And you're right. I'm sorry. I see that language in the resolution now. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think a lot of you know that I served on the streetcar committee from its inception, along with Chris Ledesma from West Sac. The meeting that we had with the councilwoman earlier this year was a very important one because the alignment shown going to the Sacramento Valley Station would have been very disruptive indeed to the master plan for the Central Valley Station. Many aspects of it would have been disturbed, including precipitating an action of relocating more tracks. This alignment makes a lot more sense. It's about the same amount of money, but it would actually connect people in West Sacramento into our line so that they would have more options. And I think we would definitely garner more ridership by accepting this new alignment. I think it's a really positive step forward. It was a difficult meeting. I'm glad to see that my colleague has changed her views and come around to this new alignment, because it does make a lot of sense. I'm definitely in favor of this, and I think it's perfectly fair to let staff start to negotiate with West Sacramento on a funding plan for the environmental reviews, and the city of Sacramento will take it up in pretty short order. So I don't really see a time conflict there, addressing Director Budge's question. So I think that what we've got here is a much better plan. You know, when we had to pivot from the original streetcar project, which was a very big and robust project, and pivot more to a short light rail spur to West Sacramento, it just didn't make sense. But this alignment, I think, is far superior, and it is certainly worth forging ahead. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any other director questions or comments before I go to public comment? Seeing none, Tabitha, do we have public comment on this item?
Jeffrey Tartagia and Glenn Mandelkern have their hands up.
All right. Glenn, who do you got? Or is it Jeffrey?
I think this is Jeffrey.
All right. Jeff, you have the floor.
There we go. I was muted. What I was going to first start off and say, thank you, Jeff, because one of the questions I would ask is the verbal declaration by the mayor of $25 million, I'm assuming only was related to the Sac Valley station of coming from the city. So I agree. I think this is a better alignment. I hope this serves the purpose of dealing with, as you say, the connective. I still look a little bit is $30 million is what pays for getting over to West Sac or in the totality. And the other question, technical, I would ask is that knowing that when the previous route was selected and done, there was discovered an awful lot of underground work that would need to be relocated. On this one, do we have the same in the N Street? Because it has been around since the Capitol was first put up. Do we have other sufficient relocation of electrical and other utility needs for putting it down? Mostly what I perceive is N Street, as well as the other regional areas coming off of the Capitol, so we say bridge and around. And is there any other additional changes or impacts, or will we be able to sub off of what was done to 3rd Street and just have to do environmental and other aspects from 3rd all the way connecting around N Street and the connection into the light rail system? That's my question, and I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Henry.
I just want to answer Jeff's question, right to the point. That's exactly why we want to have the funding agreement to conduct some analysis, the environmental review, whatever, to find if there are any surprises. So Jeffrey, wait for about 9 months. We will have the answer for your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. And next speaker, please.
Oh, sorry, there's Glenn Mandelkern.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Okay. So this observation is about the west side of the river there in West Sacramento. That area has seen some new apartment buildings lately. I was wondering when the stations get built there, if some of the concepts that SAC-RT has been able to use in terms of transit-oriented development could be shared and presented to YOLO Transit or the appropriate parties there, so that residents of those new apartments would also start thinking about transit-oriented development and use this streetcar. Thank you.
Good points, Glenn. Thank you. Any other comments, Tabitha, from the public?
There's no other hands up.
Any further director comments? Hearing and seeing none. Katie, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, please. I move this item, Chair. Thank you.
Motion by
second by
Director
Harris.
Valenzuela, second by Harris. And with that, Tabitha, would you please call the roll?
Director Budge.
Yes, indeed.
Director Harris.
Aye.
Director Howell.
Yes.
Director Hume.
Aye.
Director Jennings is absent. Director Kennedy.
Here.
Is
Here.
that an aye?
Hello, Patrick.
Aye, sorry. COVID brain.
Director Natoli.
Aye.
Director Chenier.
Aye.
Director Cerna.
Aye.
Director Valenzuela.
Yes.
And Chair Miller.
Yes.
Resolution 2022-08-090 passes with 10 votes. Very good.
All right, on to the next item, please.
The next item is 8.1, the general manager's report.
Okay. Good evening, Chair Miller, members of the board, and the public. Thank you for joining us tonight. Let me begin by reminding everyone that SACRT is hiring. We have many different positions, and there are dozens of career opportunities available. Come join our amazing team. Now we'll start by speaking about some service announcements. Effective Sunday, August 28th, SACRT will make minor adjustments to 4 bus routes. Due to continued workforce shortage and COVID-related challenges, SACRT will only be able to add more school trippers to get our service level to 98% of pre-pandemic level. And we'll have to wait to get to 100% until staffing levels are more stable. In addition, we will see enhancements to 3 of our smart ride zones. Starting on Monday, August 29th, the Thomas North Sacramento Smart Ride Zone will be expanded to include a connection to the Veteran Affairs medical clinics and businesses in the southwestern part of McAllen Park. And the Elk Grove Zone will be expanded to provide connections to Route E113. That includes many multiple stations multiple stops, such as Elk Grove High School, the library, Adult Education Center, Regional Park, and several grocery stores. Then on to the next topic. I'm excited to announce SACRT has been recommended for $2 million in funding from SACOG's revolving match fund program, thanks to our board members who are also SACOG board members for you guys' leadership and support. The newish program is intended to help project sponsors with additional local match to better pursue major federal or state grants and to support the delivery of maintenance and capital projects. The funding will be released to SACRT should we be awarded the state-local partnership program grant later this year, which we STA allocate 22.5% of the total local or the county's state local partnership program to us in last STA board meeting. As we know, our region struggles to compete with other parts of the state that have a higher support of local funding. And this SACOG program intends to fill the gap and make our region more competitive until additional local funds are available. Last board meeting, we shared that it is likely a transportation measure, Measure A, the new Measure A, will be on the November ballot. And a little over a week ago, the Sacramento Transportation Authority, STA, took action to move it to the ballot. Again, I think we have 7 RT board members sit in the STA board. Thank you for your leadership and support. Then move to the next slide about our legislative update. I'm very happy to share that SACRT's sponsored legislation, AB 2015, is expected to pass out of legislature this week. The whole process has been very smooth without any issues or hiccups. We expect the governor to sign our bill very soon, which will bring efficiencies to SACRT's procurement process and update outdated language in our code, which is more than 32 years or 40 years old. And there's some outdated languages in our act, SACRT Act, for a long time. Finally, we get this cleaned up. Thank you to the big thanks to Assemblymember Corley for championing these changes. And our board chair, Mina, has talked to, worked with Assemblymember effectively to move this legislation along very, very effectively. And tonight, the board also approved a new state lobbying contract with Townsend Public Affairs. That company's name is Townsend Public Affairs. With this firm on board, we expect to have a more ambitious legislative agenda in the future. Next slide, please. Next topic, I just want to thank Director Katie Valenzuela for her participation at the American Public Transportation Association's Transit Board Members Seminar last week in Salt Lake City. The conference brought together about 140 board members and administrators for peer exchange and professional development on board governance and policy development. Director Valenzuela participates on a panel titled Rebuilding Ridership and the Value of Transit Beyond Ridership: What the data can tell you and how they can support a system redesign. Our board clerk, Tabitha Smith, attended this great conference too. She told us she really enjoyed it. Director Valenzuela was able to share SACRT's many innovative initiatives, including our efforts to support our community throughout the pandemic, and received some great feedback from industry peers and from APTA leadership, including chair and vice chair. Next slide, please. This is about Ride-Free RT, year 4. If you can believe it, several school districts have returned from summer recess. Students heading back to school can take advantage of SACRT Ride-Free RT program. Students should have received the new Ride-Free RT cards, which are valid from July 1st this year through June 30th next year, from their schools prior to the summer break. For those who do not have a Ride-Free RT card, please visit SACRT's customer service and sales center or any Sacramento County public libraries. I want to specifically thank our county leaders and supervisors who approved the funding for this program. And interestingly, the whole industry, lots of our peer agencies are starting to implement this program, and which we actually led the industry by 3-4 years earlier. And we provide our experience, successes, and lessons we learned to our peer agencies across the nation. Then the last slide, and it's about safe parking update. So far, there are no major updates since our last board meeting and about our safe parking project. Staffing is continuing to participate in weekly coordination meetings with City of Sacramento staff, both sides working highly collaboratively and productively. And we'll expect a tentative launch in a couple of months. To close out my report, I would like to share a 3-minute video documenting some amazing work psychiatrist social service practitioner is doing in our community and helping to address the homeless crisis and equity, social and social justice issues. The full blog story can be found at psychiatry.com/blogs. With that, please show the video.
I really believe that it says that we are here as a community partner to help the issues, right? We have writers that on a daily basis, they're seeing people experiencing homelessness, they're seeing people with severe addiction, they're seeing people that are unable to afford fare. And it's like a lot of the questions is like, well, what do we do for those people, because they have to get to places. So what it really says about regional transit is that, they are seeing the need that we have in our community, and they're turning around and creating a solution. A lot of the things that we do, of course, everything is, on a voluntary basis. We're not gonna have people that are gonna say, oh yes, I'm ready today, so it's like we plant the seed, as a social worker, that's what we do. We go and plant seeds, and we gotta keep watering those seeds by visiting the person and, just being a reminder that hey, I'm here to assist you whenever you're ready, I'm here. When I first met Pat, it was actually due to a referral from customer service.
I met Rose, I was homeless. I had been homeless for over a year, and was really going through a lot of depression and anxiety. But there was some issues I was having, and I was introduced to her, and I thank God for her because she has made a big difference in my life. She has helped me. When other people were just like telling me, I'm sorry, I feel sorry for you, Rose actually stepped in and just picked up the ball and ran with it, and I'm very grateful and honored that God allowed me to meet her.
The best part of the job is when we get people in housing, right? When we get them from being in a tent with not, appropriate shelter, not, they don't have an adequate place to sleep, and getting them in shelter is one of the best feelings.
I was literally homeless when I met her down in El Paso Heights. And I was trying to get a job. I was staying in an abandoned building, so I was trying to go to a job interview. And ambassadors caught me without bus fare, and they referred me to Rose. Ever since then, she's just been helping me. Since I got a job, and between checks, she helps me with bus passes. And truth be told, she's been a lifesaver for me, you know what I mean?
I believe I am a very resilient person, and I'm empathetic and compassionate. So I think that those three things have always, helped me be the social worker that I am. Being empathetic is so important in this job. If you're not empathetic, you're gonna burn out fairly quickly. You're dealing with problems and issues that we're having to, mediate on both ends. We have to mediate it with the community, and we have to mediate with the person that's experiencing the problem. And my compassion to always want to help any way that I can.
Well, Henry, great report, and Rose is doing a great job out there. A good story. Really appreciate it. I see Director Valenzuela has her hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I'm glad you ended on that video, Henry, because it helps make the case for why it's so easy to go anywhere and talk about RT and what we're doing, because folks are really impressed and very excited to hear about some of the innovation, some of the work that's going on. It was a real pleasure to also travel there with Tabitha and finally get to meet her in person and see her learn and grow with other transit system administrators around the country in Salt Lake. I will say, as a point of recommendation for the rest of my colleagues, and Henry knows this because I text texted him during the session, I think, and said, hey, what about this IIJA funding? So you might have heard about the federal resources that are coming down that are pretty unprecedented. And what the APTA folks were warning board members about is, just because it's appropriated doesn't mean that it's allocated, doesn't mean that we're going to get the full amount. We have to be very conscious about how we spend this money and how we talk about how we spend this money. So we make the case to future congressional sessions that they should keep funding this unprecedented level of support for transit. And I will add, Henry, that last weekend when I was at a different convening in Denver, I learned that ARPA funding counts as match funding for IIJA grants. And so it's something that we should be thinking about, is how do we leverage some of the work that we started using ARPA funding and support from other jurisdictions to really bring in more of that IIJA funding. And so Henry agreed to bring a workshop to us to talk about the federal funding opportunities that are coming, so that next time we go to APTA again, and I'm really excited to be part of the transit board members group now, that we can share even more best practices in the future, as I'm sure we will. So thank you, Henry, and thank you, Chair.
Very good. Any other director comments?
Chair Miller says,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Somebody.
Sorry, this is I have my hand up. It's Don Scully. Yeah, just real quick. I just wanted to, since I'm on the phone, I get a chance to see the video, but I heard the dialogue, and I want to just say that I know that Rose, along with obviously other compliments of folks, both navigators and social workers in other jurisdictions, certainly in the county, but in other jurisdictions, city and elsewhere, has been working very closely. And I know I had the occasion just last week to talk with her and other representatives from RT and other county representatives about a particular location. But I was impressed with Rose's knowledge of folks that she was working with, who she had contact with, some of the the successful outcomes, but also some of the challenges. And again, it's I think well known to most of us from our other hats we wear, but a very challenging and certainly can be daunting task. But I think we're very fortunate to have someone of Rose's caliber working with certainly our RT officials and with the others in the region to help folks address their personal situations, but also to make sure that our rights of way and the areas that we provide, particularly train service, but bus service, that we can address some issues that might relate to safety, but also safety of the people that she encounters and works with. So just kudos to her, certainly you, Henry, and for others with the RT staff as our partners in the community, as you said, continue to take on the challenge of helping folks who are unhoused, but also keeping a system up and running, safe and available to riders from all walks of life. So thanks, Chair.
Well said, Don. Director Butch.
Yeah, I just want to thank Henry on another note for his developing a program to try to extend his hiring needs to some of our very select groups of people. And in our case, it's the refugees who are coming from Ukraine, and people who are working with them are absolutely thrilled that Henry wanted to reach out to them. And we just want to thank him. It's a wonderful thing to have somebody in this country reach out and try to make them feel welcome and help them find a job that will benefit not only them personally, but their entire family. So thank you, Henry.
Thank you. Actually, I just wanted to make a minor, correction. Actually, it's a Director Budget's initiative. We just support her.
Well, it didn't come from me. It came from somebody in the community. So, but thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Any other director comments? Public comment, Tabitha.
Okay, Jeffrey Tartagia.
For Christ's sake, man.
Well, I apologize, but I will say, Henry, thank you for putting in the website the dealing with the closure for the next 3 years. I do want to encourage that you open up a couple more of making it sure that you can signify where 7th and O Street and the 9th and P and the directions that that travel is in. I'm hoping that that's available on that map through there. And again, thank you for that, and thank you for the effort. Also, I will say to you is that appreciate your effort with Sacramento Steps Forward, because the homeless issue is certainly something, and it was brought to the attention, I think, to the county a little bit, of where is the closest bus line for the Florin Road and Power Inn location, as well as the other. And I believe Mr. Kennedy is working on getting more of your progressive transportation service over there to address, because many of the homeless depend on public transportation to get around, and it's often where so much of the change comes into the machines. And again, Henry, we'll look forward to a couple of more conversations related to the Citizens Academy, as well as some other subject and matters. And again, I want to encourage that the more information is available to the public, the more input and helpful information, I hope, is provided. And I thank you, and I'll close.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thank you, Jeffrey. And with that, if there's no other comments from directors, that's an informational item, and we can move on to the next item, please.
There are a couple more hands up for public comment.
Oh, I apologize.
Sorry. Okay, so we have Glenn Mandelkern.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Okay, yes, my comments are about the video. First, I wanted to say that I was very impressed by it. This is about the third time I've watched it, actually. So overall, I found it very captivating. I found it inspiring. And the reason I say that is because it's otherwise an uncomfortable subject that was presented here. And it was done so in a very humane and realistic way, especially all the thought process that Rose Arteaga goes through. And so I also wanted to say that I remember not too long ago, there was talk about SACRT looking for a videographer. So if that's what was responsible for making this come together as clean and crisp and nice audio overall, I enjoyed it, like I said, despite the subject matter, and I look forward to future episodes of All Topics SACRT. Thank
you. All right, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we have Helen O'Connell.
Hi, Helen.
Hello. I was wondering where I could get the language for Measure A and how much it's for. Is it a half cent, 3/4 cent? And where can I also get the language for AB 2015?
We can send that to you, Helen. Chris will send that to you the first thing tomorrow morning, both.
Okay.
Thank you, Henry. Was that it, Helen?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other public comment?
There's no other public comment, but do you mind if I say something for a minute?
Sure, put the clock on.
No, I too also just wanted to say that I enjoyed traveling with Director Valenzuela and getting to know her, and she did an amazing job representing SACRT. That's it.
Very good.
It's short and sweet.
All right. Well, speaking of short and sweet, let's get the next item, please.
Okay, next item is 9.1 San Joaquin JPA meeting summary from July 22nd, 2022.
Director Hume, do you have anything to add to that?
I do not, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Next item, please.
And the next item is 9.2, Sacramento Placerville Transportation Corridor JPA meeting summary of August 1st, 2022.
Director Budge, anything to add?
I do not, unless Supervisor Natoli has a comment he would like to make.
No, I just apologize for missing it that day. We had a conflict on the calendar, Linda. I know you reached out to me, but by the time I got it, the meeting was already over. But thanks for good stuff.
Don't worry about it. Nobody arrived for about 25 minutes. And so it was hard to get.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, I appreciate you reaching out, but by the time I got it, it was like 11:30 or 11:45. At any rate, good summary, and I'll be there for the November meeting. So, but you covered it all. Thanks.
All right. We're good, Steve. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks. Any other ideas or questions from directors? Hearing none, seeing none. Next item, please.
There's no closed session this evening, and that's all we have.
Well, gosh darn it. Then we're adjourned.
Good night.